Hello, viewers. Welcome once again to Fame Global Academy. And I'm your favorite physics teacher, Craig Mark. And the last class, we talked about resolution of vectors 1. And today we are concluding the topic how to resolve vectors that are more than has more than 2 magnitude, so that at the end of this class, no matter where the question is coming from, as long as it's vector resolution, you are good to go. So we're going to be dealing on some questions, comb all the areas, cross our T's, dot our I's to make sure we are good to go. Okay, in the last class, we started by talking about what is vector resolution, and we said the process. We'll put that down so that it becomes easier. The process of finding two vectors which have the same is called resolution. Okay, and let's go over to the definition once again. So the process of finding two vectors which have the same effect as a single given vector is called vector resolution. And we did justice to it, and we said the first of all that it must be resolved into two components, which is the x component and the y component, or the vertical coordinates and the horizontal coordinates. And then you know that all the x-axis, okay, and this is vector y, and this is x. All the s are horizontal, the horizontal component, and the y's are vertical component. And then we said yesterday that all the horizontal component, which is the s, are cos theta. All the x are cos theta. And all the y coordinates are sine theta. And we also talked about that it must be divided into two components, which is the vertical component and the horizontal component. The vertical component are the y-axis, mathematically from your graph. And then the horizontal axis are the s coordinates. And also said that all the x coordinates are cos theta using your trigonometry. And all the y-axis are sine theta using also the trigonometry. Now, remember, let's try to rephrase ourselves again, or let's try to remind ourselves that when you have two vectors that has this moving in the same direction, you add their resultant. Please do not forget. And then when you have two vectors also moving in the opposite direction, you subtract their resultant. If you have the same two vectors that are either in an obtuse angle or an acute angle, you use the cosine rule. But if these two angles are at a right angle triangle to each other, which is 90 degrees, you use the Pythagorean theorem. And then it must be sustained at an angle, you use the tan theta. And if it's also acute on an obtuse angle, it also have to be sustained at an angle, which I have to use the sine rule. Now, peradventure, it is not two vectors. It is more than two. It could be three, it could be four. What do? I have to resolve it into two components first, and then apply your Pythagorean theory, because as into two components is also forming a right angle triangle, which is 90 degrees. And I have to apply the formula for Pythagorean theory. And I said also in the last class that vector resolution is a little bit technical, and so you have to pay proper attention, listen attentively, so that you don't you follow me every step, So as I make every step I go, you just go with me. So at the end, it becomes very, very easy. Now, let's continue. I said all the y coordinates are sine theta and all the s coordinates are also cos theta. Now, what if the question does not come in that form like we did in the last class? Let's take a very good example of the way the question is coming in a different angle. Now, okay, let's say question 1 here. It says two forces of resultant 100 Newton are perpendicular to each other. Okay, if one of them makes an angle of 60 degrees to the resultant, calculate the magnitude of the force. Okay, let's read the question again. Two forces of resultant 100 newtons are perpendicular to each other. If one of them makes an angle of 60 degrees to the resultant, calculate the magnitude of the force. One of the easiest way to solve every physics problem is to understand the problem. If possible, draw the diagram. It will aid you. You don't just jump into answering questions. You have problems. But if you sit down first, read the question and try to understand the question, and then draw the diagram if need be, and then you now know what am I looking for? What am I giving? Then you know what to solve. Let's go. Now I said two forces and they are perpendicular to each other. Perpendicular means the two lines cannot meet. So one is up, the other one is down. And then if one of them makes an angle 60 degrees to the resultant, which is 100 Newton, V is equals to. In our last class, remember we do something like this. And we said this is Vx, this is Vy, and then this is the resultant V. Now, in this case, the resultant V is already given, but the magnitude were not given. So I am asking now to find the magnitude on the side of the x, which is carrying the 60 degrees. Find the resultant at this coordinate, the x coordinate or the y coordinate. Let's say Vx and Vy. The Vy is not given, the Vx is not given, but I'm given the resultant. Remember we talked about in the last two classes and we said to get the resultant, you find the square root of both the x and the y coordinates using the Pythagorean theory. But in this case, we are not given the resultant and we are asked to find the magnitude of the force. So let's go now. And we said in the x coordinates, if you are using the trigonometric, we have Vx over V. Vx over V is equals to cos theta. Vx over V is equals to cos theta because all the s coordinates, all the horizontal coordinates are cos theta. Now, and we are given over 1, and we are given this. So if I make my Vx is equals to V times cos theta, I am looking for Vx, which is unknown. Vx times 1, if I cross multiply, it becomes Vx times 1 is Vx, then V times cos 60. So Vs now is equals to what's our V, which is given as 100 Newton. 100 times cos 60 degrees. Cos 60 degrees. Okay? And then Vx is equals to 100 times cos 60 degrees is 0.5. 0.5. If you use a 4-figure table, you can get 0.5. If you use your calculator, is equally 0.5. They are the same. But I tell my students, as a physics student, there is no crime in you having a good scientific calculator, because it will aid you. Nobody will give you an exam without telling you to use your calculator. Even those who are writing JAM in the Western African world, we use there's still how do I put it? There's still a space in your system where you can able to punch your graph to aid your quick answers. Now, having known that cos 60 is 0.5, just press 60 cos theta, it gives you 0.5. So Vx is equals to 100 times 0.5, it becomes 50. So this is our the magnitude. The magnitude of the x coordinate Vs is equals to 50. Now, if here is 50, and I have my resultant as 100, so what is my Vy? So what is my Vy? Let's do that very quickly. I think I should use this space. Okay. Vy over V is equals to sine theta. Yes, it's no longer cos theta. Remember I said that all the vertical coordinates, all the vertical components are sine theta, and all the horizontal components are cos theta. So in this case, I'm no longer dealing with cos theta but sine theta, because I'm looking for Vy. To get my Vy, the same thing, I cross multiply, because Vy is equals to V times sine 60 degrees, because the angle there is still 60. Using your trigonometry, we're having this. So Vy, which is unknown, is equals to 100 times sine 60, and sine 60 here becomes 0.8660, and Vy becomes 86.6. Vy becomes our 86.6. Come again, two vectors of resultant 100 Newton are perpendicular to each other. If the force of them makes an angle of 60 degrees to the resultant, calculate the magnitude of the forces, which is the Vs and the Vy. And I said, from the trigonometry, let's start with the Vx first. Alphabetically, x comes before y. So Vx over V is equals to cos theta. All the horizontal coordinates, which is the x-axis, are cos theta. And so you have Vx over V equals to cos theta using your trigonometry. Now, cos theta, like I said before in the last two classes, you have SOHCAHTOA. So your sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Your cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And your tan is opposite over adjacent. So because it's adjacent over hypotenuse, that is where we got this from. So we have Vx over V is equals to cos theta. So wherever I have my V is 100 Newton, it's given in the question, and my angle is 60 degrees. So Vs is equals to 100 times cos 60. Cos 60 is 0.5. So Vs becomes 100 times 0.5, which is equals to 50. So 50 is your Vx. The value here becomes 50. Now, what is my Vy? I've known that here is 50. My resultant is given to us in the question as 100. So what is my Vy? In the same manner, Vy over V is equals to sine theta. Now the sign changes, no longer cos but sine. Sine because it is the vertical coordinate. It becomes sine. So Vy is equals to V. If I cross multiply, V times sine theta. V is 100. Sine 60 is 0.8660. And if I multiply together, Vy becomes 86.6. So I have 86.6 as my Vy, as my vertical component, and I have 50 as my horizontal component, and then I have 100 as my resultant. Okay? Having done that, let's try one more question before we go to. Okay, remember I said physics questions are not to be jumped into. You read the question very well, try to understand the question. What am I looking for? If possible, draw a diagram. It will aid you to know what you are doing. Okay, question 2 is a force of 150 Newton is inclined 100 degrees to the horizontal direction. Find its component in the horizontal and vertical direction. Now, question 2, let's read the question together. Now, a force of 150 Newton is inclined 100 degrees to the horizontal direction. Find its components in the horizontal and vertical direction. Now, if you look at the question, we are saying the same thing, but the English is not different. And so you shouldn't be confused. It's still centers of the same circle. Now, a force of 100 Newton. In other words, it is given that the resultant is still 150 Newton. Nothing is changing. Even if the word resultant is not used there. It said the force of 150 Newton is inclined 100 degrees to the horizontal. In other words, the resultant is 150 Newton, and it has an angle sustained at 100 degrees, and I'm asked to find the vertical direction and the horizontal direction. It's the same thing, but the English has changed. That's why I said in every question, you don't rush into it. You sit down, try to understand the question. It's saying the same thing in a different language. Okay, now let's go. Draw the diagram to aid you. This is Vy and this is Vx, and then the V here becomes 150 Newton at 100 degrees to the horizontal. So it's making 50 here, 50 the other way around. Let me just see. 50. A force of 150 Newton is inclined at 100 degrees to the horizontal. So if the horizontal is 100, so it means it's not 50. Horizontal is 50. The other one is 50, which is 100. Now find the components of the horizontal and the vertical direction. So let's continue. We have Vx over V is equals to cos theta, because all the vertical axis, horizontal axis are cos theta. Vs still unknown, as 150 is equals to cos 50 degrees. Okay, so if I cross multiply again, we have Vx is equals to 150 cos 50 degrees. The Vs is equals to 150. The Vs is equals to 150 cos 50 degrees is 0.6428. 0.6428 cos 50 degrees becomes 0.6428. And then Vx, if you multiply together, you're having 96.42. 96.42 on the horizontal component. On the horizontal component. Now, having done that, on the vertical component also, we have continue the same way. Vy all over V is equals to sine theta. The sine theta, because all the vertical component, all the y component are sine theta. So you have Vy, if you cross multiply, becomes V sine theta. So Vy is equals to, V is 150 times sine 50 degrees. Then Vy is equals to 150 sine 50 degrees is 0.70, sorry, 0.7660. Vy becomes 114.9. 114.9. I come again. I said in the vertical component, which is the y-axis, I have Vy all over V is equal to sine theta. The Vy is equals to V sine theta if I cross multiply. This is assume that this one here eventually. So Vy is equals to V sine theta, V multiplying sine theta. V is 150, sine is 50 degrees. And so Vy becomes 150 times sine 50 is 0.7660. So Vy becomes, if you multiply 150 times 0.760, I will have 114.9. So on this axis, I have 114, and on this axis, I have 96.42. If you look at it now, the resultant, your calculation should not be bigger than your resultant. Should not be bigger than your resultant. The resultant we have 150, and then on the vertical axis we have 114.9, not up to 150, and then on the horizontal axis I have 96.42, not up to 150. But when you are solving, you are having above it, you know automatically you are wrong. There is a problem somewhere. So you go back again and check, where have I missed it? What did I do? What did I do wrong? Probably your multiplication was wrong, or probably you're using your sign instead of pressing sine, you're pressing cosine. So you check very well to make sure that you are in order. So once you see that your calculation, you are already above your resultant, there's a problem, there's a clause. So you sit down and check, where have I missed it? Where did I go wrong? Where, what is it? The calculation? Is it the multiplication? Is it the sign or the cause? Did I make mistake there? You check through to know where you have missed it. But originally, your resultant should not be your components of either x or y should not be higher than your resultant. Okay, so let's continue. And now all these are ways you can solve vectors. Now these ones are still in vector resolution, but these ones are vectors. We see the same two magnitude, but as given our angles. But now in the last class we talked about when they are more than two vectors, and have 3, 4, you resolve them. So let us be sure that what we did in the last class, it was understood. And I said that vector resolution is a little bit technical. So please, if you are joining us, if you're just joining now, just pay attention. You're going to understand. Okay, let's take question 3. Question 3 says, 3 forces act as shown below. I will draw the diagram now. 3 forces act as shown below. Calculate their resultant. 3 forces, no longer 2 forces. Remember, if it is 2 forces that's already resolved into 2 components, all I need to do is to find the Pythagorean theorem or solve as the case may be. But in this case, it is not more than 2, it's not 3 vectors that are acting as shown below. Calculate their resultant. Let's draw the diagram. Okay. 20 Newton, 70, 45 degrees. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. We have 3 forces as shown below. Calculate their resultant. Now it's no longer the right angle triangle, it's more than. You have vector 1, vector 2, you have 3, and then P is even not still known. So we are asked to find their resultant. So all I need to do is to resolve these forces into two coordinates, which is the x and y, before solving. Remember, I said the clue to start. Number 1, we have drawn the diagram already drawn for you. Now, go to a side of your paper and just put the 4 cardinal points and name it F1, F2, F3, and F4. F1, F2, and F4. And then this is your X, and this is your negative X, positive Y, and negative Y. Negative Y. Having done that, remember all the X coordinates are cos theta. S coordinate is cos theta. Y coordinate is what? Sin theta. Beautiful. Now S coordinate is cos theta. Y coordinate is sin theta. That's 1. And then 2. I have to get out all the numbers, all the forces that act on the positive X axis, so I can able to aid me to resolve. I won't have a problem. Let's do it together. In the X component, which is your let's say, which is the horizontal. In the X coordinates, the positive X, I have F4, F1. So F1 and F4 is on the positive X coordinates. So I have F1 cos theta, F1 cos theta 1 plus F4 cos theta 4 on the positive X axis. Then the negative X axis, I have 2 and I have 3. I have 2 and I have 3. It becomes, put it together, it becomes minus F2 cos theta 2 minus F3 cos theta 3. Good, you have done that. Now let's go over to the Y coordinates. The Y coordinate, or the Y component, which is vertical. I have in the Y it shouldn't be here. In the Y coordinates, I have positive Y, I have 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is under the line of positive Y coordinates. I have F1 sin theta. Remember, I said all the Y axes are sin theta. F1 sin theta 1 plus F2 sin theta 2 minus. Now, negative Y is 3 and 4. 3 and 4 is sharing this negative Y. So I have minus F3 sin theta 3 minus F4 sin theta 4. Yes. Now we have now brought out with this one. Now all I need to is now fixing this into these coordinates. This one is just to aid you so that you don't make mistake. It's just to aid you on how to break it down. I have resolved it into X and Y. X and Y. So this is X and this is Y. Or f of X or f of Y. Now let's continue. I have to erase this so you can see properly. Now, having done that, so I put here my F1, here my F2, here F3, and this is F4. Now let's go. In F1, which is F1 cos theta 1, F1 cos theta 1. So F1 is 50. F1 is 50. So 50 cos 60 degrees plus F4 just 60. There is no angle. There is no angle here sustaining F4. So I'm leaving this one as this. Minus the F4 is just 60. The Newton, the magnitude, the force is there, but there is no angle. So F4 is just the 60 is gone. There's no angle there. Minus F2. What is our F2? 20. F2 is 20 cos 70 degrees. 70 degrees minus F3, which is Q. It's given us as Q. Q cos 45 degrees. Now let's put it in a straight line so that it becomes easy for me to solve. In a straight line, where everything goes. Now let's put it together to make it put in a straight line. have 50 cos 60 degrees plus 60 minus 2 cos minus 20 cos 70 minus q cos 45 is equals to 0. Okay, now I haven't done that. Now let's continue. Now what is now cos 50 times cos 60 become 0.5 plus 60 cos 60 is 0.5 plus 60 minus 20 cos 70. Cos 70 will give us 0.3420 minus q times cos 45 will give you 0.7071. 0.7071. I come again. 50 cos 60. 50 cos 60 is 0.5 plus 60 minus 20 cos 70. Now 20 cos 70 becomes 0.3420 minus q times cos 45 is 0.7071, all equals to 0. Now let's continue. All this is under the x coordinates, f of y. All this is under the f of x coordinates. F of x coordinates. Now let's continue. 50 times 0.5 give you 25 plus 60 minus 50 times 0.5 gives you 25 plus 60 minus 20 times 0.342. 20 times 0.142 will give you minus 6.84, which is equals to minus 0.7071 q. Now let's continue. We said 50 times 0.5 you have 25 plus 60 minus 20 times 0.3420 will give you 6.84. You can multiply with your hand, you can also multiply with your calculator, depends on what you are comfortable with. And then you have q times 0.701, it becomes 0.7071 q, because q is multiplying this. Now 60 plus 25 gives you 85 minus 6.84 minus q minus 0.7071 q, all is equals to 0. Now 85 minus 684 will give you 78.16. 78.16 minus 0.7071 q, all equal to 0. Okay, and then you have q 0.7. If this one goes to the other side, if you cross, it becomes a what they call it. I won't subtract 78.16 from 0.7071 q. No, it's only when there is no q there that you cannot subtract. But as long as there is a q, it's a different entity entirely. So I have 0.071 q is equals to 78.16. So to get my q, what do? I will divide both sides by 0.7071. So q becomes 78.16 all over 0.7071, which is which will now give you q becomes 110.535. So approximately, let's just approximate it to is equals to 0.5 Newton. 0.5 Newton. Let's clear the board so that it becomes okay. I will have to clean up this. so that you can see very well. But the question still remains. Okay, let's go through it once again. We are only succeeded to get this as our Q, the value for Q. Now, I come again. Remember, all the x coordinates is cos theta. So I have 50 cos 60 plus 60. Because this F1 and F4 is under positive x-axis. Under the negative x-axis, I have F2 cos 20 plus, sorry, F2, which is 20 cos 70 minus F3 cos 45. F3 cos 45. The F3 now is your Q because it's not given to us. Now, having done that, so 50 cos 60 is 0.5 plus 60, which is this, minus 20, because it's on the negative side now, 20 cos 70, and cos 70 is 0.3420, minus Q cos 45. I have this, cos 45 is 0.7071. Now, if this times this, I have 25 plus 60 minus 20 times 0.3420, I will have 6.84 minus this times this, that is Q times this, becomes 0.7071 Q. So if I subtract this from this, I'll have this. If I subtract 85 from 6.84, I'm having 78.16 minus 0.7071 Q. Remember, I can't subtract this from this because 0.7071 has a Q. So it is not just, it is not 0. If, for instance, it's 0.7071 plus Q, I can subtract. But they are together. I can subtract this from this. So it's equals to 0. So if this one goes this other way, it becomes positive sign, minus 0.7. Once you cross equality sign, the sign changes to plus. So you have 0.7071 Q is equals to 78.16. So how do I get my Q? Divide both sides by 0.7071. If I divide it, Q will go, Q will remain. Q is equals to 78.16 all over 0.7071. If I divide it, I will have 110.53555. So to approximately, it becomes 110.5, because the next number is not, you can round it up to 1, so it becomes 0. So approximately 110, let's make it clear, 110.5 Newton now becomes the value of Q. Doesn't end there. Now this is for the x coordinate. Now for the y coordinate, remember the y coordinate, we have y component, the y component, or the y component. You have F1 and F2. F1 and F2. So F1 sine theta 1 plus F2 sine theta 2 minus the negative coordinates. The negative coordinates, you have 3 and 4. 3 and 4. So the 3 becomes F3 sine 45 minus F4 sine 4. So let me not put sine 4. Let me just put 3 so that we still be on the same page. We break it down to that when we get the P, because P is unknown. Okay, now let's continue. So F1 is now 50. The F1 is given here as 50. So it becomes 50 sine 60 plus 20 sine 70 minus Q. F3 is Q. F3 is Q. Q sine 45 minus um P. F4 is just P. F4 is just P. There's no angle, so we're leaving it at just P. Even if we put sine theta 4, there's no sine theta 4, so we'll leave it at just P. It's just there. Remember, we have known what the value of Q is. We're looking for the value of P now, this value. We have known the Newton, we have known the force F1 here, which is 50. We have known the force of F2, which is 20. The force of F3 is unknown. We have gone that before at 110.5. The force of coordinate 4 is still unknown too. So let's continue. So 50 times sine 60 is 0.8660 plus 20 sine 70 is 0.9 times 0.9397, okay, minus Q times sine 45, which is 0.7071 minus P, all is equal to 0. Okay, I come again. 50 times sine 60 is given as our theta 1, and then sine 60 is 0.8660 plus 20 is for the coordinate of F2, that's the magnitude there. 20 times sine 70 is 0.9397 minus Q. For the F3 is Q is unknown, so Q times sine 45 minus P for the 4. There is no angle, so it's gone, which is equals to 0. So 50 times 0.8660 will give you 43.30 plus 20 times 0.9397 will give you 18.794 minus Q. Remember, our Q is, we have solved for Q, which is 110.5 times, that's the value for the Q, times 0.7071 minus P. Okay, let's clean this other side. Hope you are following. I said before that vector resolution is a little bit technical, so you just follow me one step at a time. The first and foremost, you must learn how to divide it into 4 coordinates, the F1, the F2, and the F3, and find out which of them is positive, which of them is negative. And then all the sine theta are, all the y coordinates are sine theta, and all the x coordinates are cos theta. Those are the first thing you have to do before you start resolving them from whatever diagram you have been given. Just know your F1, know your F2, know your F3, and know your F4, and know which of them is positive. All the numbers on this row, upper y is positive, lower y is negative. Then this to the east, all the numbers here in the x-axis are positive, and to the west, all the numbers here are negative. If you are doing your graph normally, mathematically, your graph is x and y. We have upper part of y is positive, lower part of y is negative. In the x-axis, the eastern part of x is positive, while the western part of x is negative. So let's continue to find the value for P. The value for P. So we have 43.30 plus 18.794 minus 110.5 times this minus P. So when we add this together, let's continue. 43.30 plus 18.74. I have 110.5 times 0.7071. I have 78.135. 78.135 is equals to P. Is equals to P. Okay, so if I have P becomes what now? 62 point this plus this, I have this times this, I have this. Now is equals to P. Remember, if the P is equals to 0, if I move P this way, it changes to positive. So to get P, 62.094 minus 78.135, it becomes minus 16.041, minus 16.041, which is approximately p is equals to 16 minus 16 minus 16, which is very very correct. If peradventure after solving I'm having positive sign, it means I am wrong, because all the numbers on this axis are negative y. So every number within this p, it should be negative. After solving I had a positive sign, it means I am wrong. So all the numbers, since I have p is equals to minus 16, which means it's on the negative y axis. So we have the value for p and we also have the value for q. Now we are able to resolve these two into two given vectors. We have done that, resolving these two into two given vectors. Now we have known the factor, the resultant of this vector has already been calculated. We have 20 Newton for F2, we have 50 Newton for F1, we have 60 Newton for F4, and then F4 is carrying 60 Newton, but we are still asking for what value does it have on the negative y-axis, and it's what? Minus 16. And then we have the value for Q, which is the first magnitude of force on the on both x and y coordinates, which is 110.5 Newton. I believe we have done justice to this question today. And then if you have any question, please in your comment section let us know. And do us a good favor, don't try to learn alone. We said in this place, in Fame Global Academy, we learn beyond boundaries, and we encourage people, those of us who are already in it, to help others. Those of your friends who you think that they can't learn in a busy environment, why not subscribe and share with them? Let them gain from what you are gaining. In this place, your excellence in academics is our priority. We want the best for you. So do us a good favor by clicking and subscribing, and also share to your friends all over the world, wherever you are watching from, whether from Ghana, South Africa, from America. You have friends who you think can gain from this. Why not just share with them? They can be the best them you can ever ask for. Okay, see you and God bless you.